Hello, everybody. Welcome to Let's Talk Football. My name is John Halpin, alongside my brother Chris Palma. How you doing today?
How you doing, man? Another week in the books. I'm sure you got some smiles going on, but we're doing good.
Plenty of news happened in this past week. We are recording the day after the trade deadline. There was a lot of big moves that happened in the trade deadline, and we are sure to talk about that and discuss all the aspects of that. But with that, I want to get right into our week 9 recap. But before we do, I just want to make sure I just want to remind everyone to like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate all the views, and we want to make sure that you give us that for this video. So with that being said, let's move on to our week 9 recap. Let's start in Miami, where the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson coming back beat the Miami Dolphins 28-6. It was a nice homecoming for Lamar to come back to.
Yeah, it was a nice return for him, but like we were saying last week, it was a good football team playing bad football
Mhm.
versus a bad football team that was playing well. Welcome back, Lamar. I think all eyes got to be on Baltimore right now because there is a very strong chance they don't lose a game for the rest of the year with how their schedule looks.
I mean, it's possible. We do play the Patriots and we do play the Packers, and of course we play you guys twice going
Twice.
forward. Nothing is guaranteed, but I mean, if anyone has been seeing me in person, I've been saying ad nauseum that we are about to go on a heater, and I firmly believe that. we,
I fully expect something crazy to happen with Baltimore right now.
I expect us to go on a run, and this is the time to do it. I will say I was very impressed with the defensive outing that we had to only allow 6 points and to be very opportunistic and get turnovers on the Dolphins and get sacks as well. So our defense is actually looking a lot better than it did the first couple weeks. This is the Ravens that I expected to see. So let's move on to Sunday's slate of games with let's go to the MetLife, where the San Francisco 49ers beat the New York Giants 34-24. But man, it's still going to be hard football to watch for the New York Giants.
Yeah, you knew you got to see some growing pains, but you got to see that the wind is out of the sails now because of that Scotabo injury. It's just unfortunate. It's the reality. But as a young team, you got to get through the adversity. You do have a good young running back who's backing up Scotabo with Tracy. You can do things with him too. It's not over yet until someone says it's over. Don't give up.
Absolutely, and I will say, Jackson Dart, he looks like a franchise quarterback. And he's very young, he's very raw, he has a lot of potential, but man, I think the Giants really nabbed themselves a good franchise quarterback for years to come, and I can see why a lot of Giants fans were very hopeful to see him play this year, get some reps, get some experience, and by the time next year rolls around, once everyone's healthy, we're going to have to keep the New York Giants on everyone's radar.
Yeah, but again, still you got to question what's going on with Scottaboo for the rest of his career.
That is
You know,
true.
he still has a huge recovery ahead of him. He has permanent hardware in his foot. So if he can't walk at 100%, he can't play football. So we're going to have to keep a close eye on him and his recovery.
According to some rumors, and I don't know how I trust these rumors, but apparently he was walking again and around the facility.
No
I don't
way.
know. I don't know. I
Not a
buy into
chance.
that, but I
Not a
think it's
chance.
more so for just to kind of keep the aura of Scattaboo alive. Of like this guy's
Right,
tough.
right. I'm sure he's tough. If anything, he's walking in a boot, but no. No, he will be out for at least 8 months. Do not expect him back anytime soon. The next time you will hear about a deadline on when his return will be July of the next year at earliest.
So we'll have to keep an eye on not only Scattaboo but the New York Giants this season, but also the off season going forward. As for the 49ers, Brock Purdy is still Mac Jones still started as quarterback, but Brock Purdy is expecting to start and return sometime within the near future, whether that's this upcoming or whenever, but Brock Purdy should be making an appearance before the end of the season. But let's move on to Tennessee, where the Chargers came to town to beat the Tennessee Titans 27-20. This was a very black and white game of Chargers are just better than the Titans, but it is good to see that um, Cam Ward is still getting experience. However, the Chargers are just really trying to stack wins to make not only a playoff run but also a run at the AFC West right now.
Yeah, but Another huge loss. Both of their tackles now. Joe Alt out for the rest of the year.
That's
And
right.
saw something the other day. 60% of Justin Herbert's plays without Joe Alt on the field, he ends up on the ground. So that is something huge that they're going to have to get over. Joe Alt is an irreplaceable player on the field, and it shows. Hope
Absolutely.
he gets the best of recoveries, but for the Chargers, you have to overcome that. Next man up. You got to do it.
Next man up, and especially when there's a lot at stake for each game going forward. And the Chargers have a tough matchup next week against the Steelers. But let's let's keep to week 9, and I want to move to Detroit, where we had an upset of the Minnesota Vikings beating the Detroit Lions 27-24. I don't think anyone expected this upset, but JJ McCarthy, man, he remains undefeated in the state of Michigan. Who would have thought?
Such an interesting stat when people start bringing up college legacy and they go into the pros with it, and it's like, oh, he hasn't lost here. It's like, okay, well, understand these are different teams, but that's a cool thing to think about. But good, strong win for Minnesota. I like JJ McCarthy. I think Minnesota found their franchise guy with him. Detroit, they are still one of the favorites in the NFC, but they are absolutely still a flawed team. So we will have to dive into them at some point.
Surprisingly, Detroit is the only NFC team. Well, after this week, Detroit will be the only NFC team that we have yet to discuss on this year's slate of games. So we're gonna have to talk Lions soon. And I know that they have a big matchup on Thanksgiving against the Packers. That should be fun. But as for this game, I like JJ McCarthy. You know me, I do like seeing him in Minnesota. I think he's a good fit for what Kevin O'Connell's trying to do. However, he just needs more experience. I want to see him get more reps and get more experience under his belt, but this is a solid, solid win for the Vikings going forward.
Yeah, this is a good stepping stone for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So let's move on to New England, where we have a Super Bowl 51 rematch between the Atlanta Falcons and the New England Patriots, and the Patriots sneaking away with the win 24-23. But man, Drake May, he's still that guy.
It's not fair to watch the Patriots fucking strike gold with another quarterback. It's not fair. Especially when the Falcons still haven't fucking figured out what the fuck they want to be. It's fucking not fair. Everybody in the league is watching this happen right now, and they're like, God fucking damn it. It's because no one could beat the Chiefs. We had to wake the Patriots back up.
I think what you know how in comics how Batman kind of created the Joker. I think the Bills kind of created this version of the New England Patriots, where they kind of forced them to kind of be like, wait, let's
We need to remember who the fuck we are for a second.
yeah, let's get the coach that we want. Let's get Mike Vrabel. Let's get Drake May some good reps, and Patriots sit at 7-2. Man, it is crazy to think about. They are one of the top dogs in the AFC, and the Bills are underneath them right now. It is a very, very interesting situation in the AFC. Both Colts, Broncos, and Patriots are all top dogs in the AFC, sitting at 7-2.
Wild. Absolutely wild.
Oh man! But speaking of Indy, they did play your Steelers, who do lead the AFC North at the moment, and they got another win under their belt against the Colts, 27-20. Man, bringing pressure on Daniel Jones, I mean, makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense.
I guess I just got to spend a week talking shit about my team, and they're just gonna fucking prove me wrong. I talk shit about their defense. They fucking caused 6 turnovers.
Yep.
So I'm just gonna start doing that every week. I'm just gonna start saying we fucking suck, so we can just keep winning games.
It's funny too, because I think fans also had funeral for their defense in the tailgate, which is hilarious.
Right? It's like, so because up until this, it's like this is the type of shit that pisses people off. Because you just did this against the best fucking football team in the league. We will not see this for the rest of the year. We will not see 6 turnovers for the rest of the year. You did it against the fucking best offense in the league. We're not going to see it again. And that's what's going to fucking piss people off. We may see another 2 or 3 turnovers total for the rest of the fucking year. We put our whole cache of turnovers on Daniel Jones. And we still only won by a fucking touchdown.
Mm-hmm. Well, you guys
Just
had a big lead, and then the Colts were trying to climb back, if I'm not mistaken. So,
well, think about that. Think about the power and the prowess of that Colts offense, that even with 6 turnovers, they took it to the wire.
Mm-hmm.
Usually when you hear a 6 turnover game, it's like they didn't even get on the scoreboard. No, they kept it a 1 possession game even while having 6 turnovers. So take that one with a grain of salt. Yeah, six turnovers, but we did not put that game away. The clock went to 0.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's funny too because we talk about whether the anomaly or the new standard, right? And I think that you and I are probably on the camp that this performance by the Steelers defense is probably the anomaly, not the new standard. But we shall see how it shapes up. Steelers sit at 5-3 in the AFC North with the Ravens behind them 3-5, and there's still a lot of season left to go.
A lot of football to play, but every win counts.
Absolutely. So let's move on to Houston, where the Denver Broncos and the Houston Texans had battle of the defenses, man. And this was a low-scoring, ugly affair between these two teams. And the Broncos coming away victorious 18-15 in overtime. A very weird score, but again, low scoring. This is kind of what you expected from them. However, the big news out of Houston is CJ Stroud is going to be missing this upcoming week due to concussion protocol.
Yeah, that was a nasty concussion. I don't know if anybody saw it, and it was really rough. You could tell like he was out. He knocked himself out.
Mm-hmm.
So he will. I would expect him to be out at least 2 weeks, and I believe it's Davis Mills
Mm-hmm.
who's going to be back at the helm of quarterback in
Mm-hmm.
Houston. That's a fucking name. Haven't heard that name in a while. Davis Mills.
Yeah, because CJ Stroud's been, ever since he's been starting, I don't think he's missed a game. This is his first time that he'll be missing time
Like
as a
legitimate
starter.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. So we wish, a nice healthy recovery for CJ Stroud. And again, take your time, make sure that whenever you're ready to get back on the field, the time comes, but no rush. Health is always important. So we wish him the best of luck. But let's move on to Cincinnati, where we had a wild game between the Bears and the Bengals. Bears winning it 47-42. Holy crap. And with a final touchdown drive to seal it at the end. Tackles by the Bengals. It was, man, that Bengals defense is horrible. But goddamn for Caleb Williams for putting up 40.
It's wild to think that the Bears and the Bengals have a candidate for Game of the Year.
Yeah, I don't think anyone expected that.
I don't think that was on anyone's bingo card. Especially that, no, I don't think anyone had that. I'm pretty sure that's the highest scoring game of the year so far. At 89 points total, I think that's the highest
I
so
think
far.
so, yeah.
That's buck wild. What is this year?
I don't know, but in this game, Joe Flacco had a career game. He threw for 470 yards. First time ever he has thrown for over 400 yards, and he still lost.
Didn't he have it's 400 something yards, 6 touchdowns, and he had what, 1 pick, if that. I don't even think he had one.
I don't think he did, but he had a career game, and I will say he has been playing excellently on the Bengals. He has been absolutely lighting it up. So he actually had 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So he did throw 2 picks,
Okay.
but again,
But still,
he has been a great asset for the Bengals. And I know we have yet to dive into the Bengals this season, but I think the time is probably coming that we should, because
we'll open that drawer at some point.
these games in Cincinnati are fucking wild.
That defense is horrendous.
Yeah, it is.
I saw something the other day. It was they said it was a picture that said that the offense of Cincinnati should merge with the defense of Cleveland and just make one Ohio team.
I saw that. That team would win. That Ohio team would win the Super Bowl, right?
That Ohio team would be the nastiest team in the NFL for a fucking decade.
Led by Joe Flacco.
Of course, led by fucking Joe Flacco. Because that fucking just makes sense, apparently.
Oh my god. What a wild game. Potential game of the year, but we'll have to see. Like we said before, there's a lot of football left to be played. But let's move on to another upset of the week, with the Carolina Panthers beating the Green Bay Packers 16-13. Panthers sitting at 5-4 at the moment.
What are the fucking Panthers?
I don't know, man, but it seemed like we were onto something last year.
Right, that there's growth coming from Carolina. It's almost like they were on the precipice of something, that we're gonna go into them this week.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost like there's something there, and there may be a little bit of something missing, but not much. It's almost like when we said keep an eye on it last year.
Hey, don't be surprised if Carolina just keeps shocking the league and, hey, maybe is still alive for playoff contention come January, but we
Maybe
shall.
spoiler alert. Maybe they can play spoiler for a couple of teams that need a win.
We shall see. We shall see. But Green Bay, I gotta say, before we move on to the next one, Jordan Love is when he's the best, he's looking like Aaron Rodgers. But there are some games he's looking like Brett Favre throwing so many goddamn interceptions. And it's like he's both Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers at the same time. And it's hard to say because it's like what you're going to get each week. Because the week prior against the Steelers, he looked phenomenal.
He was immaculate,
He
right?
was immaculate. Here at home against the Panthers, he looked like a drunk Brett Favre. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? But it must be so frustrating for Packers fans because if you get the best out of him every week, they would be the top dogs in the NFC. And they're still one of the few teams in the NFC that are still top dogs, but man,
They're moving to the middle of the road now.
it's starting to look very inconsistent. And so I think that it's not necessarily, again, defense did great, right? Defense held them to 16 points, but the offense, they kind of got in their own way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot, but unfortunate loss for the Packers. They lost their new tight end, Tucker Kraft.
That's right.
He's out for the year too now. So it's like he was making waves. A lot of big name injuries happened over the course of this year, and this past week was no shadow of a doubt any bigger.
Yeah.
That's a huge loss for Green Bay, and he's just a rookie.
Oh, absolutely. And he was developing into such a great young tight end. And it's a shame that his season has to end. Again, we wish him a very healthy recovery going forward. But his presence will definitely be missed in Green Bay. But let's move on to LA, where the New Orleans Saints came into town to play the Los Angeles Rams, and the Rams mollywopped them 34-10. Again, we don't really expect much out of the Saints, and Saints played the Panthers this week. We're going to dive into that game. But the Rams, they are looking like top dogs in the NFC, and I don't think any team wants to play them this year.
No, and it's really interesting to watch all the aged veteran quarterbacks in this league really take over these young defenses.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is like the age-old experience, like age-old saying, youth and exuberance doesn't beat old age and experience. You know, Joe Flacco is torching people. Matt Stafford, after a spinal cord injury, is torching people. Mm-hmm. Torching defenses. Understandably so, the Saints are the worst team in the league, and we will get into that. But Matt Stafford, nonetheless, he is playing at a level that he has been playing his entire career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and right now he is putting himself primed to win the MVP this year. Like he is looking like I guess not many people really discuss it because like everyone watches Rams games, but he is on such a whole nother level right now that it would be to not talk about him as an MVP candidate would be a dishonor to him, right? He has 2,100 yards, 21 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Yeah, that's MVP numbers right
with
there.
113 quarterback rating for the season now. He is lighting it up, and it's funny because we talked about this a little bit beforehand, before the season started, that his health was a concern for the Rams. It was not a concern for him.
He says is not a concern at this point.
Yeah, he says, don't worry, I'm here, and I'm proving why I'm going to be a fucking Hall of Fame quarterback. And
right.
Rams, man, they look to be a dangerous, dangerous team in the NFC, and I'm excited to see them play games in January.
Absolutely.
So we'll have to keep an eye on the Rams going forward. Let's move on to Las Vegas, where the Jacksonville Jaguars came to play the Raiders. Eggs beating the Raiders 30-29 in overtime. But I will say this was a tale of two halves. It was a 6-3 half at the beginning, and then it was an offensive explosion towards the end. Big shout out to Cam Little for breaking Justin Tucker's record for longest field goal. Cam Little now holds that record for a 68-yard field goal. What a kicker, what a player. And he's just getting started in his career.
What's crazy, when you look back at that kick, that shit still had room.
Yeah.
That shit still had room.
Mm-hmm.
That was good from 70. I want you to know that. Looking at it, in my mind, that shit was good at 70.
They're going to try a 70-yarder at some point this season.
Fuck it, why not?
Yeah.
What's 6 more feet? At that point, At that point, we're already 3/4 of the way across the field with 6 more feet.
with room to spare. But what
If
a
he hits a
wild game.
70, he can retire there, and he's a Hall of Famer. Because no one will duplicate that.
No one.
Someone will look at that and they'll be like, I'm good. I'm not even going to try it.
And remember, this was in Vegas. This was sea level. This wasn't in Denver. This wasn't like high elevation. This was sea level in Vegas.
Right. Catch that man in Denver. He's hitting a 75. Catch that man in Denver. He's hitting over 70.
80-yard field goal, fuck it.
Oh my God. Could you imagine?
They try it. I know they would give it a try whenever they go to Denver.
Just kick off to a field goal.
Just do it.
Take it out to the 35 field goal.
I will say, too, this game, despite it being Jags and Raiders, this was an exciting game to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the first half was very, very boring, what we kind of expected out of these two teams, and we didn't expect much last week. But goddamn, like, this was a phenomenal game. The ending of it, though, was kind of funny, where Jags get the touchdown in overtime, go up 30-27. 30-23. Raiders go down the field, get the touchdown. They decide to go for 2, and then Pete Carroll on the goal line wants to pass it. Geno Smith passes it, hits his lineman's helmet, game over. You can't write this shit.
Fucking Pete Carroll will never learn, especially when you have a fucking power back in the back.
But you got Ashton
Genty. You fucking asshole. You're a fucking asshole, Pete Carroll.
Oh
you will never fucking learn, and that will be the fucking your Achilles heel forever. You will get to the 1-yard line and pass it and fail every fucking time. That will be the end of your legacy.
Richard Sherman, run the ball. Run the ball.
What do you remember about Pete Carroll? The motherfucker never ran it in the goal line.
Never cared to.
I don't know why. That man always... Okay, he must have not had good power backs. Nope, he had Marshawn Lynch.
Ashton Genty.
He had Ashton Genty.
He had K9, too. K9's fucking phenomenal.
He did have Kenneth Walker. Who do you have in... He went from Seattle straight to Vegas, yeah?
Who?
Oh, no, he went to Denver afterwards, Pete Carroll.
Pete Carroll? No, he went from Seattle to Vegas.
Oh, just Seattle straight to Vegas.
Yep.
So, yeah, no, you went from Marshawn Lynch to Kenneth Walker to Ashton Genty. By the way, you also had Josh Jacobs.
Jacobs was already a Packer.
He wasn't there.
Yeah.
He was already a Packer, you're right. Okay, so no, either way, you said don't fucking... By the way, you have Geno Smith, quarterback, goal line.
Man, I feel for
fucking
Geno.
Asshole.
I feel for Geno. And again, Raiders, we have yet to talk Raiders this year. We're going to get to that at some point, but man, it's not looking good in Vegas. But we'll unpack that dilemma another day. But let's get to the rivalry of this decade between the Chiefs and the Bills, and Buffalo beating Kansas City 28-21. The score actually was not as close as you thought. Mahomes had a career low at a lot of stats, career low in completions, career low in quarterback rating. He did not look good. Shout out to the Buffalo defense. They stepped up when it needed to most. And Buffalo now holds that tiebreak over Kansas City, and that is huge in January.
Yeah, no, good strong win, but I can't say this is more of an acceptable answer that the Bills beat the Chiefs in the regular season. No one's worried about them beating the Chiefs in the regular season. Everyone's worried about what you can do in January. Now that tiebreaker is huge.
Mm-hmm.
I agree, it is huge, but there's no guarantee that either of them are going to get that first and second place. So that tiebreaker really may not mean shit between the two of them. Sure, we get the regular season win, but if we don't see each other, that tiebreaker don't mean shit.
I don't think Buffalo wants to see Kansas City in January.
I don't think either of these two teams want to see each other respectfully again in the playoffs. But this was a great game.
It was a good game. And again, big shout out to Josh Allen. He's playing phenomenal football. And again, Chiefs now sit at 5-4 within their division. They sit behind the Broncos at 7-2, the Chargers at 6-3, and now Kansas City is 5-4. So let's move to Washington, where Sam Darnold put on a clinic between the Seahawks and the Commanders. Sam Darnold with a commanding victory, 38-14. However, we did have a big significant injury in this game, and it was a very ugly one. Aiden Daniels landing on his elbow, dislocating. It was an ugly injury. Aiden Daniels probably out for the rest of the year.
Absolutely.
That was a rough one to watch.
My question directly is at Dan. What the actual fuck is wrong with you? You're down by 31. Why is Jaden Daniels still in the game?
Mm-hmm.
You were down by 31 in the fourth motherfucking quarter. Why is he still in the game? He does not need those reps. I can understand why Washington fan base is calling for your head right now, because they're calling for you.
Oh yeah, and he just came off injury. Like
Right.
he was injured for the last couple weeks. He was healthy for this game, and then he gets a even more significant injury that's gonna, again, he's probably gonna miss the
It's going
rest
to
of the
alter
year.
the rest of his career, too.
Yeah, and again,
That
that
shit's crazy.
it was on his non, it was on his left arm. It was his non-throwing arm. However, that was, man,
Brutal dislocation.
and
Brutal separation.
for Washington itself, historically, that field takes so many, so many players' careers. Joe Theismann fucking died on that goddamn, not literally, but his leg broke. Alex Smith, RG3, Jaden Daniels. I know a lot of teams these days are getting new stadiums. I think Washington is kind of overdue for it at this point because that stadium is just killing its players.
It's not even it's the material that's going on the ground.
I know, yeah.
And I've said this to nauseum. I have a problem with turf. It should just be grass. Because you've seen it all year this year. Players who have spent their entire career playing on grass fields, going to turf fields, and getting non contact injuries. Best example, Najee Harris. Spent his entire career leading into leaving Pittsburgh playing on a grass field. Pittsburgh has a grass field. Goes to LA, tears his Achilles in fucking training camp. He's playing on a turf field for 6 weeks, and he fucking tears his Achilles.
No, I think it was during the season because he did
Or
play
was
a
week
few, week 3, I
week
want to
one,
say.
2 or 3.
Yeah,
You're right.
it was early
It would
on.
happen. But even still, you're not training very long on a turf field.
I know for this injury, it wouldn't have mattered if it was turf or grass because
No,
it was
no.
just the way he landed. He was trying to brace himself, right? But again, I don't disagree to your points. Washington has been under Dan
Snake
Schneider.
bitten.
Yeah, under Dan Schneider, that whole stadium has been held together by duct tape and has been cheap. And Washington had a big resurgence last year with a new quarterback, new ownership, new head coach, and it's a shame that this year injuries occurred. It and everything just kind of went wrong. Everything that could go wrong for Washington did go wrong for Washington, and now the Commanders are resigned to have Marcus Mariota be the quarterback for the rest of the season. And I know that's not what they wanted because a lot of people had high hopes for the Commanders this season. Hopefully, this upcoming offseason, they are able to kind of get healthier and get better for next year. But to your point before, Dan Quinn, why the fuck was he out there? Makes no sense to me.
It's again, I understand why they're fucking calling for your head at this point because of that decision. I don't necessarily see Dan Quinn at the head of Washington next year. And I
I
wouldn't blame the office.
I wouldn't blame him either.
I would not blame the office one bit.
We'll have to see what Washington decides going forward, and hopefully Jaden Daniels, he has a very safe and healthy recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move to the final game of Week 9, and we enter Jerry World in Dallas, where the Cardinals came to town and put on a clinic against the Cowboys, 2017, beating the Cowboys. Jacoby Brissett, man, he still
Who knew he
got it.
could play football?
He still
Who knew
got
he
it.
could still play?
But man, I will say I got to give a big shout out to that Arizona defense, man, because they stifled that Cowboys not only passing attack, they made Dak very uncomfortable, but they shut down Javonte Williams throughout the game. Couldn't get the run game going, made them one dimensional, and Arizona took advantage. And good on them. Again, I don't know what to make of the Cardinals. They are just another team that's just they're bound to play spoiler at this point. But Cowboys, man, what the fuck?
I want to give a shout out to Jacoby Brissett.
Mm-hmm.
He's showing that this team is ready to win games. So now the underlying question is, what do we do with Kyler Murray? What happens now? If the team is showing growth, but the quarterback isn't, what do? There's a couple of teams in this league that are in that same situation. Our team is growing and we're like at the precipice of something, but the quarterback at the helm has not shown any progressive growth to keep up with the team. I understand the development part, but you also got to remember that we're supposed to be developing together as a team. So now that's what question lies in. Because shout out Marvin Harrison, he's coming into his own as a receiver now.
Mm-hmm.
Marvin Harrison Jr. was someone who could throw the ball to him. He's coming in as a route runner now. He's routing people up.
He's taking after Dad, man. He's taking after Dad.
So K can play.
Absolutely,
You
you
know,
can.
the question marks are away from him now. The kid can play. He's got his confidence back. He's got someone to throw the ball to him. What happens next year when Kyler Murray's healthy again?
I see that's a good question too. My question for the Cardinals is Jonathan Gannon the right head coach for this team? I don't know. And I think that whatever decision they make this offseason, it's going to have to be in tandem with the Kyler Murray decision, right? Do you take out the baby with the bathwater and get a new head coach and a new quarterback? Keep both of them, get rid of one and not the other? It's going to be tough to say. But I think that Arizona, much like a lot of other teams that we discussed prior, have a lot of very big questions to answer come February, March, and April.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, that is our week 9 recap. A lot of great games this past week, and we have a lot of great games to look forward to this upcoming week. But before we get into that, we mentioned earlier in this episode that we are recording this the day after the trade deadline for the NFL. Now the trade deadline was Tuesday, November 4th, and man, there was a lot of big moves that happened there. So CP, I know there again, big moves. What were some of your favorites that happened yesterday?
Well, I think the pretty obvious one is Quinn Williams to the Dallas Cowboys,
Mm-hmm.
alongside with what's his name, Logan Wilson from Cincinnati
Mm-hmm.
to Dallas as well. So now they got a competent little three front with Quinn Williams, Logan Wilson, and Kenny Clark. Jerry made, and it's cheap. It's almost like the old man knew what he was doing, getting rid of the expensive Micah Parsons. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I can see that he cut some costs and got some quality from it.
Mm-hmm.
Good on you there. But then you flip over to the transaction between the Colts and the Jets. Sauce Gardner to Indy for 2 first rounds
Mm-hmm.
and a receiver.
Mm-hmm.
That, granted, he's young.
Mm-hmm.
Jets need a receiver.
Yeah. Ad Mitchell, I believe.
Ed Mitchell,
Mm-hmm.
AD Mitchell, yeah. Competent receiver, good, young, ready to play. Jets need people who are ready to play. So now the Jets have 2 firsts and a second this year,
No, 2 firsts and 2 seconds this year.
and 2 firsts and 2 seconds next year.
No,
Yet they
no,
have the same setup for this year and next year because of what happened.
no. They have two firsts this in 2026, 2 seconds in 2026, and they have 3 first round picks in 2027.
That's how the fleece worked. I misread that then.
Yeah, so the Jets within these next 2 years have 5 first round draft picks with these 2 trades. I mean, to your point too, I think with the trade deadline, I think everyone won this trade deadline. I think
Mm-hmm.
every team got what they wanted out of this. And I think for the Jets, and we've talked about this before, and we talked about this last week with John Conti, that the Jets should look to get rid of their players to prepare for next year because there's a lot of value there. We did kind of mention it a little bit before that the trade deadline's coming. Don't be surprised if the Jets make some moves. They made big moves to really make sure that the offseason is like, no, they're loading up these next 2 years. And I think for the Jets fans, such as John Conti himself, I'm sure that a lot of them are over the moon. This season is done. It doesn't matter what happens the rest of the year, right? But this offseason and the following offseason, there's going to be a lot of big changes happening in New York. But the real thing is though, and like you and I we talk about with the draft all the time, you gotta hit on them. If you're gonna get these picks right, you gotta hit on them. And it's very nice to kind of play with the fantasy and the speculation of what these players could be. But until they're drafted and until they're playing on the field, we won't know who these players are. So, what this does is this gives Jets fans a lot of hope for the future.
Well, yeah, it is. It's a proper stepping stone in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna look at the value that we have. First of all, Sauce Gardner had an incredible contract that they just got rid of. They no longer have to deal with his cap hit.
Yep.
Quinn Williams is going to have to be paid by the end of this year. Colts can go pay him. Fine. I mean, Dallas can pay him. Dallas can pay him. I did see today that Dallas was actually inquiring about both the Williams brothers. That trade didn't work out. But Quincy Williams is now on the bench. So don't be surprised if Quincy ends up somewhere else by the end of this year, that he will be on the trading block come the offseason. So
It's definitely
moves
possible.
could still be made. I think the Jets are doing that one smart by not allowing the Williams brothers to be the duo they were somewhere else. You know me, I have a soft spot for both of them. I think them as a duo is one of the better duos in the league. Quincy could probably bring in another first round
Mhm.
if they play their cards right and bring them to the right person.
Absolutely. And I gotta I just want to pivot to Dallas real quick because again we talk about the Cowboys a lot. We talk that it's Jerry's team, it's Jerry's world, right? But the I gotta give him credit where credit is due, where he is now starting to prioritize defensive acquisitions. Quentin Williams, he's a great player to put on that D line. Logan Wilson, he's probably one of the most underrated linebackers in this league from Cincinnati. Granted, he is going from the second ranked defense to the first ranked defense, but his contribution should help the Cowboys and their defensive struggles this year. I'm sure Logan Wilson is kind of familiar with a team with a great offense and a shit defense. I'm sure he's kind of familiar in that regard. But I think it kind of also goes to show that how much Jerry has to replace for Micah Parsons. I think that like the absence of Micah, he now again, we've seen what the Cowboys defense has been without him. But him trying to again prioritize defense and trying to plug up that hole, I, I'm I'm glad he's his mindset's in the right place. Now how it goes forward in the offseason, if they get another defensive end, another linebacker or cornerback, I think that there's going to be a very, very good future for Dallas because that offense is solid. I had like Dak's playing great. Javonte Williams, despite last game being stifled, he's been playing great for them. CeeDee Lamb is one of the top 3 wide receivers in the league. And George Pickens, he's actually a good fit in Dallas because they're looking to throw the ball and they're going to throw it his way. And I'm not surprised that Woody Johnson and Jerry Jones making this kind of deal because they're kind of one and the same, right? They're two owners that have complete control of their team and their team will ride and die by their decisions. And we've talked about it before. We talked it last week with John Conte before we mentioned Woody Johnson plenty of times last week. And every time we talk Cowboys, we talk Jerry Jones a lot. And I'm sure they have their numbers on speed dial. But
I'm sure they talk a lot.
I'm sure they definitely talk a lot. But this was, again, I think everyone won in this scenario. And again, going to the Colts with Sauce Gardner, I think the Colts may have overpaid a little bit for Sauce. 2 first rounds, that's a lot. That's a lot to ask for. But the Colts are in a win now mode, and getting a player as with the caliber of as Sauce Gardner, that really helps their defense. Hey, you lose to the Steelers once, and then Carly Ursay Gordon was like, "We're not having any of that. We're not having any of that shit." But good on her for being aggressive. I think that this is a really good fit for Sauce, and it's always nice to see good talented players leave bad organizations to better organizations where they can really flourish their talents a lot more.
Yeah, and with the success of Indy, I wouldn't be surprised if the idea of Sauce Gardner working on a restructure to help benefit the Colts moving forward is on the table.
It's definitely on the
Sauce
table.
going from the shit situation that was the Jets. He goes, "You guys are going to pay me everything you can to keep me here
Mhm.
because I don't even want to be here." Now he's going to go somewhere where he wants to be. That shows that they want him to be there
Mhm.
and that they're willing to work and better the franchise and better the product. That's a lot of enticing things to make you say, you may not, I'm willing to work with you guys on the contract that these fools fucking signed for me. So you guys don't have to take this hit. That's a loyalty thing now. Now it's a culture thing again.
Mhm.
Now backtracking to what we were saying in week one, it's a culture thing. The culture of the Colts is way more promising for Sauce Gardner.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And again, he's under great leadership under Carly Ursay Gordon. She is really making the Colts just a powerhouse now. And the Colts have earned the respect of everyone in the league because of just how well they've been playing, not only Daniel Jones, but also Jonathan Taylor. And now, again, they're 7-2, man. I wouldn't be surprised if they take the first seed in the AFC. And especially with a move like this, they really set themselves up to be a very, very dangerous team come January.
100%. 100%. They're a top team in the league now. They will be come the end of the year too.
Two final trade acquisitions. Ravens acquiring Dramonte Jones from the Titans. He's been a veteran outside linebacker for a while. Just another defensive piece for us to kind of really shore up our defense. I like it. It's solid. And the final one I thought was pretty interesting. Jacoby Myers going from Las Vegas to Jacksonville. And the Jags really making a push for more offense this year. And that's a very, very interesting move on both teams.
Yeah, it's interesting to think why the Raiders would want to dump someone like Jacoby Myers, but I can see why the Jags would want to pick someone like him up.
Mm-hmm.
It's someone for Travis Hunter to learn from. He is someone who could really take Travis Hunter under his wing and teach him how to really be the route running menace that he really could be. Jacoby Myers in his prime, he was a route running menace. He could show Travis Hunter how to do a thing or two on offense while he's recovering from injury. And then when he comes back, that's a four-man package that I would not want to set a defense up against.
Yeah. And again, Jags are still in contention right now for that AFC South. I know, again, as we talked about before, the Colts are 7-2, but the Jags are not that far behind. Remember, they're in a division with the Titans and the Texans, and the Texans have been very pedestrian. But the Jags played the Texans this week, and I'd like to talk about that game. But there's also the Titans, who are again at the bottom of that division. They are one of the worst teams in the league. But I think that this is kind of a good segue into that game, the Jags and the Texans, this upcoming week, because both teams are on different trajectories, so to speak, where the Jags are trying to really assure themselves for a push at that division because they know that they play the Colts twice by the end of the year. We have yet to see that matchup. I believe it happens week 14 and week 17. So that's not that far apart, right? So they play each other for a lot of the marbles are happening near the end of the year. Kind of similar to how, Ravens and Steelers will be playing towards the back end of the year, right? But the Jags think that they have a very good chance to win the NFC South. Well, hey, there's Colts are 7-2, Jags are 5-3. They're not that far behind them. But does CP, I want to ask you, does this acquisition of Jacoby Myers really move the needle as Jags contenders for the AFC South?
I don't think so. Truly, I don't. I think he's a great player. I think he's a good fit. I don't think he's a needle pusher to say that, they're walking into a deflated Texans team, so he's going to have a chance to really have a good debut and show out and really remind people who he was throughout his career. But as the season continues and they start playing more competent defenses, you're going to see the age and you're going to see the wear on a receiver with Jacoby Myers. Will he be a main focal point? No, I don't think so. Will he be someone that may have to pull a double team every so often to leave Brian Thomas open? Probably. He'll be put in select packages where he pulls defenses. So that's not my problem though with Jacksonville. My problem is, and will always be until it gets better, is that offensive line. You guys are playing well, but you have a 26th ranked offensive line. You're ranked 26th out of 32. Your defense is 24th as of yesterday. Both you're ranked 26th and 24th on offensive defensive line. The Texans have the worst offensive line in the league. They have the second best defense in the league.
Yeah.
So that offense versus that defense is going to cancel itself out that they have Davis Mills at quarterback for Houston because the defense in Jacksonville has no push. So this game is very interesting, especially because it's a division game.
Yeah.
You have the Jags that are still trying to claw their way and close the gap with the Colts, which I don't necessarily see them doing, but it could be interesting if it starts here with a big division win, which they very well could. But the flags are up for the Texans right now. All red flags are up. They should be in panic mode right now.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything that you said there because everything's true, right? The Jags' offensive line has been abysmal. Trevor Lawrence has been sacked 21 times so far this year, and I'm sure Will Anderson is just licking his lips to get to Trevor Lawrence this week.
Yeah, he's salivating. He cannot wait.
He's ready. He is fucking ready. I think though for the Jags, before I talk a little bit Texans, I want to just my big issue with the Jags is not only their offensive line, but I think Trevor Lawrence is kind of the weak link in this team. He's not really been as that good this year. He's been okay, but he hasn't been special. He had certainly hasn't been that generational prospect that he was claimed to be.
Well,
But I
we've been trying to wipe that shit off of him for years now.
yeah. And look, he's got 1,800 passing yards, 9 touchdowns, 6 interceptions.
And under an
He's
80 QB rating.
Yeah, and he is. I think he's averaging 77 QB rating. He is not looking that good. And the Jags defense got out to a pretty hot start for the first couple games. They were actually like dominating the turnover ratio, and they're still up there. They have a +8 turnover differential, so they're still taking the ball a little bit more than they're giving the ball. However, they're not getting to the quarterback. They only have 10 sacks so far this year. They can't get that pressure, and they're really relying on their secondary players to make plays. Now, granted, they have been, but that's not sustainable, right? You need a balance on the defensive line as well as your secondary to really stop teams through the ground and through the air. And again, you stop them through the air, and we've talked about it before, where it's like the best teams get pressure on quarterbacks. That's how you stop most quarterbacks in the league is getting pressure and establishing that pressure. That's how the Bills like made Mahomes look like a fool last week. He was pressured 52% of the time last week.
Jesus.
That's how you beat these guys. But the Jags can't do that. They just can't get that pressure there. And they have great talented players. Trayvon Walker came back. They have Josh Hines Allen. These are good players, but man, they just can't get there. And so when I look at the Jags and getting Jacoby Myers, it's like, again, he's a good player, very underrated player when he was with Vegas. Like he was doing very, very good work under the radar for them. But that's not addressing the big need for the Jags at the moment. I think that they could have benefited from anyone in the trenches, offense or defense. You get a good solid tackle. You get a defensive end that can really sturdy up your either one side of the ball. But a wide receiver is not the position that's needed in Jacksonville, if that makes sense. And I'm sure
Oh,
Mikey,
100%.
our boy Mikey, big Jags fan, I'm sure he's probably looking at this trade like it's okay. But
I'm pretty sure that's how everybody's kind of looking at this trade. It's like, yeah, that's a good enough trade. But like you said, it's not really what is needed.
Mhm.
Now, let's say, hypothetically, they got Quinnen Williams. Now you're on to something. Now you got Hines Allen and Quinnen Williams on the front.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe you dip back into Vegas and now you go and try and steal Max Crosby.
Max Crosby's that's too high of a price though. But I mean, I would like to see him leave Vegas, but we shall see.
I would like to as well, but we shall see come the end of the year. But for the Jags, I agree with you. It's that Jacoby Myers pick. It was good enough to maybe turn a spotlight or two at you guys. Like, oh, why'd you guys do that? Will he fit into the playbook? Some questions will stir about it. Good conversation piece, but it wasn't a necessity. Travis Hunter will come back, and your wide receiver room will be at quote-unquote full strength once he is back. So for the time being, is Jacoby Myers even going to touch the field when Travis Hunter even comes back? Who knows?
I'd
Hope
say
so, because he is a talented player.
Yeah.
But you can almost expect that his snaps will be limited once Travis Hunter comes back. You need someone who's going to be on the field for a majority of the rest of the season to help make you make waves. And Jacoby Myers, I don't think is it.
Yeah, and that's well said. Because again, it's not the need of the team. And again, it's maybe to encourage Trevor Lawrence to throw a little bit more, maybe. But even still, I don't think Trevor Lawrence, again, he's probably the weak link on this team at the moment. And again, he's for a first overall draft pick, he's okay. Again, he's not the greatest, but man, like to have 9 touchdowns so far, to have Lamar Jackson be out for a month and have more touchdowns than you, that's saying something. I mean, granted, Lamar's Lamar,
Well,
but even still, it's like 9 touchdowns in a division where like you have to like really be on your game. Now the AFC South, we've ragged on them for years that this is one of the weakest divisions, if not the weakest division in the whole NFL. Colts just emerged out of nowhere, and granted, I didn't see it, you didn't see it. I mean, our boy Travis was really the only one that called it. So big shout out to T. But this, if the Colts didn't emerge, yeah, 5-3 would be fine. But 5-3 is not good enough now, because if they're going to get a wild card, if they're going to get the wild card, if they falter against the Colts later on in the year, they're going to be competing against the Chiefs. They did have that tiebreaker over the Chiefs. They did beat them. But like the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Ravens, Steelers, Patriots, Bills, there's a lot of really, really good teams in the AFC, and it's going to be hard for the Jags to kind of keep up with these guys, especially, again, if they're struggling on offense and struggling to put up points. Now, granted, they did put up 30 on the Raiders last week, but that's the Raiders, one of the worst teams in the
Right.
league.
That's another desperate team.
Yeah. So I'm not surprised that the Raiders are, getting rid of some players, getting rid of Jacoby Myers. I mean, granted, around this time of year, we do see a lot of the bad teams start to have fire sales, which, I mean, is understandable. But again, it wasn't the need. It wasn't the thing. And that's why I think it was interesting where it's like the decision by Shad Khan, where it's like, I would have looked elsewhere. I would have looked for anyone on a defensive lineman who has a sack this year. Give them a call because
Yeah, no,
they need to.
anybody who's up for conversation, really. Anybody big. It's like we have route runners, we have skill guys, we need linemen.
Mm-hmm.
Offense, defense, alike. It's just go look. You don't have to have the pretty picks right now. You got to have the right picks.
Exactly. And that's well said. And now I just want to just pivot to the Texans a little bit more, where, again, Texans have been struggling. They've been very, very interesting this year, where under CJ Stroud and DeMarco Murray as the head coach and quarterback tandem, that first year was phenomenal between them. But they have gotten worse every year since then. Last year, they still finished with the same record as they did the year prior, but their offense regressed, especially after Tank Dell. And I'm going to try not to mention Tank Dell too much in talking about the Texans right now, because even though, yes, his absence is felt, this team is still struggling mightily for many, many different reasons. And they, despite having their best offensive performance against the Ravens, putting up 44 points against us, they struggle to put up points in games. And I think I want to look this up right now. Like, they're averaging very, very few points in this game. They are
Maybe
like
17.
21 points per game. 21,
Right.
which is still
That's
like
not a
below
lot.
average for, yeah. And granted, probably that 44 is really inflating that number a little bit more. But it's been very, very hard for the Texans to really move down the field, even when CJ Stroud was healthy. Now, you don't have a healthy CJ Stroud, and you have Davis Mills. And now, granted, Davis Mills I'm surprised he's still in the league. I'm surprised DeMarco Murray kept him around. Oh, sorry, D'Amico Ryan kept him around. And they just can't really seem to generate a run to save their life. Nick Chubb, and I love Nick Chubb as a running back. He's got 91 carries. He's got 355 yards. That is crazy to think about. That it's like they are struggling to really, really run this ball. Even like CJ Stroud, after this concussion, or not after this concussion, but like going his stats for the year. He's had a 66 completion percentage, 1,700 yards, 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and he's been sacked 17 times with a 93 QB rating. To me, what that says is like, he's fine, a little bit better than Trevor Lawrence, not by much. He has a little bit more touchdowns, but less yardage. But to me, the 66 completion percentage is like, I thought it would be better. And I thought CJ Stroud would be a lot better than what he's shown the last year into this year. Because from the first year when he came out, he looked like a prolific passer. Now it seems like they are just neutered. And it's a shame because, again, like you said before, they have the second best defense in the league, which is crazy because you're just wasting that this season because you can't score any points. You can't run the ball. And it's just night and day. And again, it's just been getting worse and worse each year. But I don't know, CP, have you been seeing anything that I haven't with the Texans?
Well, no. Well, the only thing I will disagree with you, 66% per completion percentage is phenomenal
Mhm.
in this league. Remember when Tua was only throwing 67.5, we were saying he was one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league.
Mhm.
66% completion rating is fucking top notch. So for him to have that with a 32nd ranked offensive line, he is not the problem here. Problem is execution on the offensive line. Nick Chubb has no help. He is not playing to what I thought he was going to be playing great against this offense with this offensive line from last year. I don't know what happened. I don't remember them getting rid of their offensive line coach, offensive coordinator. I don't remember that happening with Houston. So it should be the same coaching regime. It should be rinse and repeat, right? But like you said, they've gotten worse and worse. They've actually regressed as a team every year. And now you're sitting at the same old formula coming from Houston, where we have a lethal defense and an offense that cannot move up the field no matter who we get. And now our focal point / star player is hurt. Been happening for years in Houston. Arian Foster, Matt Schwab.
Andre Johnson.
Thank you. Andre Johnson. And then you have a stellar defense with J.J. Watt, and you have, for all the years in Houston, that all the problems on Houston were happening. J.J. Watt was at the helm of that defense, and that defense was a force to be reckoned with. And here we are again where Davis Mills is about to take over the offense. Like I said, the red flags are up in Houston. It's panic mode right now, because if it doesn't work with C.J. Stroud, who's it going to work with? Like, what then?
And I know it's tough, and I will say too, shame on me for not thinking 66 was good, because I'm thinking of Drake May's 74 completion percent. And I'm like, oh yeah, maybe
That's an
that's the
anomaly.
anomaly. Yeah, I know,
74%.
I know.
Right. Like, that is ludicrous.
But you're right though. Like, he's, again, I don't think, again, CJ's fine if not good. Again, it's the struggling to move the ball. That's the real big thing there. And it's tough too when, again, we've seen it, like you said before, we've seen it with Arian Foster, Andre Johnson. They have great talent and stuff like that. But you know who was leading the helm at that point? Matt Schwab. If you remember that name.
Right. You know who else? Jay Cutler.
Jay Cutler wasn't a Texan.
Pretty sure Jay Cutler was a Texan at one point.
He was a Dolphin for a little while.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm actually mistaking him when he was on the Bears. I'm sorry.
Well, Jay Cutler was good on the Bears. He was actually pretty good, but then he went to Miami,
decent.
And then he was just smoking cigarettes on the bench, and that was pretty much it.
And then he was talking about cardio being a waste of time.
I think that for CJ, it's we have to ask, and again, I've been asking the question all year: can good quarterbacks overcome bad organizations? And I think it, for the last 2 years,
it's still a resounding no.
It is still a resounding no. But I think that we, and I say we, not just you and I, but like as just NFL fans in general, forgot that the Texans are a very, not only just young organization, but throughout their history, they haven't really been that good, because they've been, again, they have great players. That's not the issue. They have, Will Anderson is, again, phenomenal player. And again, his stats don't necessarily jump out at you right now. He's got 6 sacks so far for the year, but I mean, when every offense is double teaming him, yeah, you're not going to get as many stats. When you're getting the Aaron Donald treatment, yeah, of course your stats are going to pop. But I mean,
when you look at the film and you see that 3 people are blocking me every play, you'll understand why I only have 6 sacks this year.
Yeah, and it's again, he's licking his lips at that Jags offensive line, because that Jags offensive line is going to be very susceptible to that Texans defense. But again, with Davis Mills at the helm, if C.J. Stroud was struggling to get you down the field, how confident are we that Davis Mills will do that? And I don't think, and again, we're not Texans fans, but I'm not confident at all for him to get down the field. Yeah, I know. I mean, maybe we see something that, or maybe we're shocked. Again, anything could happen divisional games. Who knows? He could throw for fucking 400 yards, or I doubt that.
No.
Especially when it's just been tough. When your offense is one-dimensional and you can't run the ball and you can only throw the ball, it makes it a lot easier for defenses to play you, because it's just, they don't need to worry about the run. They can pin their ears back and just wait for the play to develop and then be opportunistic when the ball comes. When you know that they're throwing, you don't even have to think about the run. And it's a shame because Nick Chubb, we've seen the talent that Nick Chubb has, but god damn, they can't run the ball for anything.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because it's like you said, when a one-dimensional team is forced onto the field, it's bad. But now when you're a one-dimensional team and your focal point of the dimension is off the field, what then? Where are you then?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was saying. Like, if it didn't work with CJ Stroud, because it wasn't working with CJ Stroud, what next? Davis Mills was there before CJ Stroud, and it wasn't working with him.
Mm-hmm.
So the Texans, to me, are like a dog chasing its tail. Now, let
Mm-hmm.
me explain. They're always chasing the great franchise ideas of having great talent wrapped around, having a boatload of talent on the roster, both sides of the field. But they wouldn't know what to do once they got it. And they just had it, and they lost it. I understand, again, the Tank Dell injury is huge. As a franchise, you got to know how to overcome from a player injury that he's probably not going to touch the field again. You have to move on. The
Mm-hmm.
show goes on. You have to learn how to succeed without someone who's probably not coming back. You have to learn. You have to move on. And if you can't, you're going to get left behind. And the Texans are really, they're staring at the door of being left behind. Not just this year, but years to come because of the consistent regression of this offense.
I just had to look this up real quick, just because I in the AFC, and let's stick it to the AFC South because this is an AFC South game. The Jags, Texans, and Titans are in the AFC. The only teams that score less than them are the Jets and the Raiders. In the AFC, the Jags have scored in total this year 176 points. The Texans have scored 168 points. Okay, you compare that to the Colts, 290 points. Yeah. And then again, my Ravens are 3-5, same as the Texans. We have scored 202 points. Now, granted, our offense has not been the problem; it's been the defense. But even still, the Browns have scored more points than the Jags or the Texans this year. The Brown. Oh no, sorry.
That's not
I
right.
I was mistaken on that. Browns have actually scored way less than them. They've actually scored 126. So they've actually scored a lot less points. But again, these anemic offenses are just not good enough when the AFC has a lot of really, really good teams in there. And if the Jags can get this win over the Texans, I think that they stay alive at least in the AFC South contention. I don't know about like Super Bowl contention, but at least AFC South contention. However, if the Texans beat the Jags, I think it brings them back down to earth. And I think the Jags really have to evaluate themselves as an organization where it's like they're good, but good enough. As you know, good enough in this league is not good enough because we've seen teams that are good enough to be above 500 to make it to the playoffs, but it doesn't go anywhere and no
Right.
progress is made. And it's a shame that the Jags, where it's like they've been trying to really make it work with Trevor Lawrence. And I do like their coach, Liam Cohen. However, as an offensive coordinator, you need to know how to fix the offensive problems that they're having as well. More specifically, to your point, that offensive line, that they really, really need to fix that. And for the Texans, it's like I'd say also the offensive line because they got to at least create holes for their
You have
running
a
backs to do
32nd
shit.
ranked offensive line in Houston.
Yeah,
You have to look at the offensive line.
and the second ranked defense, wild,
Not right. It's not
absolutely,
right.
absolutely wild. If they had just say, for instance, the 20th ranked offense, Texans would be a lot better than what they are right now.
It'd be a totally different conversation.
If they could score, to me, what I'm seeing out of the Texans right now is the first year of Russell Wilson and the Broncos, where they had a solid defense, but they just couldn't. They just moved the ball, and it was a struggle for them to put up points. However, if
Hmm.
they were to score, say, 20 points a game, they would be. They'd probably have a positive record.
Yeah, absolutely.
But man, it's a wild race in the AFC South. But I'm glad we got to unpack the Texans, especially now where it's like, look, this is going to be the absence of CJ Stroud. Let's see how the team looks without him. if and see again we've seen the absence what they look like the absence of Tank Dell. Let's see what they look like with the absence of CJ Stroud. And if I would be shocked if the Texans say scored 24 points. If they do, they're probably winning that game, but I would be shocked to see if their offense gets better when their best player on offense is out.
Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to watch with Houston.
I am glad that we got to unpack the Texans because they've been, again, a very big disappointment this season. Jags have been surprisingly better than expected, but Texans, it has been downhill these last 2 years.
And it's unfortunate to watch because I'm a fan of CJ Stroud.
As am I. He's a great quarterback with a great work ethic, but again, can't overcome bad organizations. So, with that, CP, do you have any final thoughts on this game?
It's really just going to be an interesting game to watch. I don't expect it to be high scoring. I expect it to be extremely low scoring, but I do want to see that Houston defense get after it for a little while. It should be fun on that end to watch at least.
Yeah, I can get behind that. I think that defensively, that's some of the best ball to watch. That may not always be the sexiest football to watch, but it is pretty interesting. Again, Jags Texans, anything could happen divisional game, but we'll have to keep an eye on it. But let's move on from the AFC South to the NFC South in a game I know you wanted to discuss, and that was the Panthers and the Saints this upcoming week. CP, let me ask you, what interests you about this game besides the Panthers being 5-4 at the moment?
Well, that's really the interest. It's like what to make of the Panthers. Now, I put you onto them about halfway through last year that something was happening in Carolina, that we had to take a look at them, that they were going to get better. So let's look at the numbers from last year, where they were ranked to where they were to where they are. Last year, their defense was the worst defense in the league at 32. This year, as of where it stands, they are ranked 12. Not too bad.
That's pretty good, actually.
Pretty fucking good increase, right?
Oh, yeah.
So now their offense was ranked 29th. The offensive line was ranked 29th last year. Where it stands as of last week, they are a top 5 offensive line. It's almost like we were onto something. So now you look at Chuba Hubbard, guy I picked up a soft spot for last year. He's kind of taken a back seat. He's kind of showing that he's a clear number 2 now. But now you look at the number 1, Rico Dowdle. Rookie, 135 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's averaging 5.6 yards a carry right now.
It's insane.
And then Chuba Hubbard is still hosting 300 yards with 2 TDs, averaging 4 yards a carry. So they're a duo tandem in the making.
Mm-hmm.
So do you see the mix that's happening here in Carolina right now?
Mm-hmm.
With that crux that they have they got some progress moving on those fronts.
Mm-hmm.
Now we move to Bryce Young. You look at his year-to-date yards, 1,390 yards. He has 11 TDs to 6 interceptions with a QB rating of 81. In year 3, kind of consistent with everything, with how he's been since the beginning. You see the progression wave of the rest of the team. He hasn't moved. You see what's starting to show here? That same argument with Trevor Lawrence, that the weak link is almost like staring you in the face in Carolina right now. Now, I like Bryce Young. I thought he looked good in the Panthers uniform. He is consistently showing that this is his ceiling for the 3rd year. For the 3rd year straight, he is showing that this is my best. And granted, if that is your best, that is your best. That will not get it done in this league. I'm not saying they should get rid of him. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm saying his development will soon become a hindrance to the progression of this team. Mm-hmm. And this team, aside from him, seems to have caught a head of steam and is in the right direction in every way, shape, and form. They better their better offensive line, better running back, better receiving core, better defense, better defensive line. You have growth everywhere but your quarterback. You know, he may need to take a back seat, and you bring in someone to teach him for a year or 2. I understand he's in year 3. You bring in a segue quarterback to teach him. Comes back in year 5. If you keep him, let it be an open tryout type of deal. I think that's the future for Bryce Young, is that his starting future in Carolina may be up in the air.
I don't disagree with you on that, too, because, again, like you said, there's a lot of again,
Major improvements in Carolina
there's
happening.
again a lot of major improvements in Carolina, and Bryce Young seems to be left behind, along with those major improvements, because they have really found their identity as a team, and their identity is a run first team. And this, I mean, who would have thought Rico Dowdle just being an absolute fucking animal with the ball right now? Like, he is killing it on the ground, and again with Chuba Hubbard like backing him up, that is a tandem that is winning games. Like, they are winning games because they are running it so well between these two players. But again, Bryce Young, the weak link out of this team. And you hit the nail on the head where it's like, again, 61 completion percentage, 1,300 yards, 11 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. It's just not good enough for a team that can be a lot more than what they are if they're led by someone else. And again, I want to see more out of Bryce Young. And I thought he was going to be better going into this year after last year, right? Because after last year, after he was benched and then he came back starting, he looked very, very good. He looked a lot more accurate, a lot more decisive, a lot more just power to his game. He kind of was reading the defenses a little bit more. Now it seems that the game got a little bit too faster for him. Now, he's also at a disadvantage because, again, of his size. He's not the biggest quarterback, too. And so, what you have to do as an organization is like, you kind of have to tailor your offense around him. And granted, the best thing, again, the best thing for best friend of a quarterback is a great running game. And he's got a phenomenal running game. But it will definitely be good enough, say, for the Saints. Yeah, because the Saints are one of the three worst teams in the league right now. Sure. But you're against the Bucks, who are, again, despite being injured, they're a really fucking good team. You have the emergence of the Falcons, who are slowly finding their identity as, I mean, a running team under Bijan. Michael Penix, it's kind of still up in the air if he's still that guy or not. But it's the same for Bryce Young too. It's like, you need to prove it, and he hasn't proved it this year, because I thought for that game against the Cowboys, I thought that was the coming out game. But then when I really looked at that game, because again, I was in Baltimore, I wasn't watching it, and I kind of rewatched it. I'm like, no, 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 no. He's just kind of like game managing these running backs. And there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with that. I clearly won them the game, but when the competition is going to call for you to step up and you're going to be playing against a lot better teams going forward, it's going to be a very uphill battle. And when you're against a prolific pass rush, and I just want to quickly just like go to their schedule, because it's not going to be easy for them, right? They're again, the NFC South is not, again, a very dominating division. But I want to just, oh fuck, I pressed the wrong button over here. God damn it. But they play the Falcons after the Saints, the 49ers, the Rams, Saints again, Bucks, Seahawks, Bucks. That is a tough, tough way to end the season, when the Bucks are probably going to get a
That's a
little healthier.
gauntlet for not a good team.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's, you play the Niners, who are, again, injured but good. Despite being injured, they're still good. The Rams, again, top dogs in the NFC. That's going to be tough, and especially when you have a tough pass rush like led by Jared Verse, that's going to be really, really tough. Bucks, Seahawks, Bucks. If Bryce Young is to prove it, it has to be in the back end of the year. No one is going to really give credit when you beat up on the bad teams, right? Anyone can beat the Saints except the Giants this year. But anyone can beat the Saints. And we talked about them earlier on in the year. We don't expect much out of them. For the Panthers to be 5 wins is surprisingly good. But when you kind of unpack them a little bit more, as you did very well, there's a lot of good to be had. But it seems that with Bryce Young, there may be a ceiling to this team.
Yeah, I agree with you. Very well said. I think the ceiling of Bryce Young is what's going to ultimately become the hindrance of this team. He either needs to really get with the program and develop himself, become a student of the game, and show yourself that you can be a franchise guy, or if you have another like stick in the mud season where if you have under 2,000 yards, you have under 20 touchdowns as a professional quarterback for 3 years in a row, you have a QB rating under 90 for your third straight year, sooner or later they're going to start thinking you cannot help lead this team. That's the way it's starting to look now. I have a soft spot for Carolina. I like Bryce Young as a player. I think he's a very promising quarterback. He shows a lot of promise, but he also shows a lot of flaws. Throwing off the back foot, not reading progressions right, not being able to do snap cadences correctly, fumbling the ball under center. Doing things fundamentally wrong as a quarterback is never a good sight. And when you are doing it 3-4 years into your rookie deal, where it's now you're coming time to where you're going to either need to be paid or you're going to start floating. And you're still doing the same mistakes in year 4 and year 3 that you've been doing since year 1 after you were benched in year 2. You're showing no signs of, number one, you're showing no signs of accountability, and you're not showing a willingness to learn. It's my play is my play, and you're going to have to accept it or take it, and no team is going to take it. They're going to watch you go, and then they're going to get someone else, and then they're going to continue to progress if you do not get with the program that it's not working with you. Because I'm an amateur at looking shit up. It does not take a professional to see that it's not working with you at quarterback. That is just a quick Google search to show that there is progress in Carolina, but you are staying the same.
And especially these last couple games too. I just want to go through the points that Carolina has scored these last 3 games. Against the Jets, Bills, and Packers, they've scored 13, 9, and 16 points. They are
right. So you're averaging 11 points a game in the last 3.
That's quick
That's
math
great.
right there. Now,
maybe 11 points a game.
Now, again, granted that upset in Green Bay, I don't think anyone expected. Right? That was an anomaly to see from Green Bay. Maybe not so much an anomaly that Jordan Love was kind of pretending to be Brett Favre, but it's more so the anomaly that they only put up 13 points. I think that's the bigger shock there. Now, is anyone impressed that they beat the Jets 13-6? No, that the Jets are the Jets, right? And they got mollywopped by the fucking Bills 40-9. Now, they did keep it close in the first quarter, but then once the Bills just took over the game, they shut down. They when the moment called for them to rise to the occasion, they couldn't. And you can get wins beating bad teams. That's fine. But when you're not rising to the occasion, that's when you get left behind. And so I'm interested to see where they decide for Bryce Young's future going forward. And again, they got a wide receiver in the first round, Trey McMillan, who is doing pretty good this year so far, to kind of help elevate Bryce Young's game. It has really yet to elevate. In fact, it may have from last year
may
to
have
this
hurt
year.
him because it gave him a crutch now.
Yeah. And the year before, first round, Xavier Legette. They are really trying to invest in this offense. And it seems that despite their best efforts, it's still not
Bryce
working.
Young it's not working with him.
Much like the Jags, right? Despite the investment in your offense, it's just not working because the guy who's leading it is struggling. And
right.
He's struggling.
And the only difference between right now, sorry to cut you off, between the Jags and the Panthers and their 2 quarterbacks is a massive contract.
Yeah.
That's the only difference right now, other than statistics, because Trevor Lawrence is statistically probably a little bit better than Bryce Young.
This year, yeah.
Overall, probably a little bit overall throughout the years, but not by much. I remember we were making the comparison of Trevor Lawrence and Giants Daniel Jones. Statistically, they were the exact same person. They're not the exact same person this year, but Giants Daniel Jones is different. But Bryce Young is now severely struggling. Hopefully, the Panthers have a little bit more confidence to see that it's not working before the contract negotiations start coming in, because that will put this team into a vice grip where the progression will come to a halt, because again, the progression of this team is going to be halted by Bryce Young's ceiling. This team has so much promise, and we started seeing it last year, and it's showing this year that they are ready to grow. They are progressing unbelievably fast. To go from a 29th to a top 5 offensive line in a season, unheard of.
I know.
It's unheard of. With minuscule moves, you draft right, you pick up free agents right, and you train. They're doing it the blue-collar, gritty way, where we earn our progression in every way but quarterback.
Yep, and they'll have that ceiling. And now, CP, let me ask you: so Panthers are 5-4 at the moment. Let's say, and
Mm-hmm.
they play the Saints twice this upcoming week and then later on in the season. Say they sweep the Saints, they get 7 wins. They play against the Falcons. Say then they beat the Falcons 30-0 earlier this year.
I would say they split.
Say they split, right? It's going to be hard for them to get a win over the Niners, the Rams, Bucks, and Seahawks, right? But if they
Right.
were to, and say they squeak in at 9-8, right?
Mm.
9-8, just missing the playoffs. Do you think that they're more willing to give Bryce Young more of a chance, or do you think that they're like, no, we've seen enough?
Well, that's the beauty of him only being in year 3.
Mm-hmm.
Is
He's
next
still
year they
got
still
more.
have him. He still has more time on his contract,
Yeah.
so I think they would give him that benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not I'm not positive if he has a 5th-year option.
I think that's for the team if they want to give him the 5th-year option because being the
Right.
first in the first round and everything.
I would think if they missed the playoffs by that much, it would probably earn him another year. I don't know that it would earn him that 5th-year option.
Mm-hmm.
It's you would have to get us in a playoff berth next year, or you're gone.
Do you think that if that were to happen, right? Say they get a wild card next year or a wild
Next year.
card this year, do you think that they're willing to give him that contract?
You see, I'm more partial to the franchise tags when it comes to iffy quarterbacks that have good runs.
Mm-hmm.
That was the same thing. That was the same premise I had with Daniel Jones and the Giants before they paid him massively. Same thing I had with Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars before they paid him handsomely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was tag them. They had a good year, give him a tag, see if they do it again, then pay him. You know, it was the same thing with Lamar when his contract was up. Is give him a tag, see how it goes. They gave him the extension; it was better. You're the shining light of those situations
Mm-hmm.
where you're better than what your contract offered. Essentially, all the other names on the teams that they were on, not so much. They underperformed.
One player that comes to mind is Dak Prescott because he was tagged I think twice, if I'm not
Right?
mistaken, by Jerry
He
Jones
got
because
tagged
he didn't
twice.
want to pay him.
It
And
was just in case. I just need to see it. I just need to see him prove it. And,
mm-hmm.
Everyone knocked Jerry Jones for doing it. But now I made sure I had my guy. And now here we are 6 years later, still has his guy playing at the highest level. So the tags work. If you save your tags for the quarterback, you can really see if you have a franchise guy or not.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in that. So if he gets them to, let's say, a wild card next year, that'll be in year 4. Pick up the 5th-year option.
See what happens.
Pick up the 5th-year option. And if you get another wild card berth, give him a franchise tag. Give him a franchise tag after a 5th-year option. See if that works. And then see if a progression maybe that would be, hypothetically, that would be his 6th year in the league.
Mm-hmm.
You got to anticipate some type of breakout season happening around that time, even in the late bloomers aspect, because that was Baker Mayfield, year 6, year 7, he started really breaking out. Matt Stafford, year 6, year 7 in Detroit, started really breaking out. He was the late bloomer quarterbacks. It's what it is. If he doesn't have one come year 6 or year 7, it's so now are you a career backup now? How late of a bloomer are you going to be? Is it going to be like a Josh Dobbs situation where in year 9 you finally start playing football? Where Jacoby Brissett, where you're finally starting to play football. In year 8, year 9, you're playing some really good football now. Mason Rudolph, you're in year 11.
Is he really in year 11?
I think it's in either year 9 between
God
9 and 11. Yeah, he's been in for a long time.
God damn. Holy shit.
So the veterans are out right now, man. And it's like, so you got to see where the progression lies with him.
I think, yeah. And I think that patience will only go so far with the Panthers because, again, you see everyone else running. The game is coming to the other players a lot faster than it is for Bryce Young. And I'm curious to see how patient the owners is. And I want to see him play out not only the rest of this year, but next year as well. I do want to see him on that 4th year. And at that point, then we do have a big enough sample size of his NFL experience to really make a decision whether he is a quarterback, a starting quarterback, or, like you said, relegated to a backup. So it's going to be very interesting for Carolina. And again, they play the Saints this week. And just to briefly talk the Saints, because I know we talked about them earlier this year, they're one of the worst teams in the league for a reason, right? They're cap hell still for fucking years. But this week they kind of have they have something to look forward to. They have Tyler Shao. I forget how to pronounce his last name.
I think I call it
Shao
Shu. I'm pretty sure it's
Shu.
either Shu or Shao.
I'll say Shao. But starting this week now, Spencer Rattler, the Saints gave him his time to try, right? And despite the Saints' best efforts, it didn't work out with Spencer Rattler. And I'm sure he might get a shot somewhere else, but at least the Saints are pretty much done with him. So that's why they're moving on to Tyler Shao to start this week. And for any bottom tier team, it's always refreshing to see a new quarterback start, right? I think that, again, the Giants were hopeful with Jackson Dart, and it worked out that way. I'm not saying Tyler Shao is Jackson Dart, but he's going to have a very tough time ahead of him because he's not, again, in the best situation possible. He's in a team where it's like their upper management, Mickey Loomis, has just made decisions previously that have just backfired in their favor, and now they're relegated to a team where it's like they're, again, one of the three worst teams in the league. Them, the Jets, and the Titans. And I don't think it's that indistinguishable from either of those three teams because they all have the same situation. They suck on offense and they suck on defense. Flat out. It's just what it is. I was surprised though that the Saints weren't willing to get rid of anyone for the trade deadline. Especially again Alvin Kamara. I'm really surprised that Alvin Kamara is still a Saint at this point in time. But
Well, I can see why, because Alvin Kamara threatened retirement if he was going to be traded. He said he'd rather retire than not play for the Saints. And now that's a loyalty thing, so we're not even going to put you on the market then. But it's on his end, that's a fucking bonehead move. I understand you're loyal to the Saints. You want to see the Saints do well. Fine. You yourself, as Aaron Kamara, only have 377 yards and a touchdown. What are you staying in New Orleans for? You could be one of the most prolific running backs in the league at the moment, no matter where you went, anywhere else. You're running behind the 30th ranked offensive line.
yeah.
Tyler Shue, you had a decent debut against the Niners, 176 yards, 1 TD, and a pick. You got to play again going against the Panthers. It's too little too late at this point, in my opinion. If you were going to go with Tyler Shue, you should have said goodbye to Spencer Rattler way earlier. Way earlier. But I have some problems with Tyler Shue, too, going into the draft. He was on Gruden's show. He isn't good at reading plays. He showed it in the film room. He's not good at processing plays on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-snap, during the play, progression reading, those are the things he struggles at. So it's going to be really interesting to watch how the Saints correlate what their future is going to entail.
Yeah, and they really have to dig themselves out of this hole, and it starts not this week. It starts in February and March and April. That's really the way that they're able to kind of dig themselves out into relevancy. Because ever since Drew Brees retired, the Saints have just been an irrelevant franchise, and it's a shame to see because, like, for fans like Kev, big shout out to Kev, they deserve more. They deserve more than what they see on a weekly basis. And it's hard because that division, despite, Tampa being the big dogs there, you could still win games there. Carolina has 5 wins right now. Who would have thought? But it's I don't know, man. I just kind of waiting for the tree to just kind of wilt and the branches to fall off and the leaves to fall off and just waiting for all like the players to retire, the contracts to end, for them to start anew. And right now, again, in Tennessee, it's a little bit more hopeful because they got Cam Ward, and it's like they just trying to really find themselves. Just like they got the players that they want, they just trying to find themselves. The Jets, as of yesterday, are in a better spot than the Saints are because they have hope because of all these draft picks that people were willing to give them for players that they have. And so despite being these 3 worst teams, the Saints are probably in the worst spot out of these 3 teams. As of today, as of this recording, the Titans don't even have a coach right now, but hell, they put up 20 points against the Chargers, 27-20 last week. It was somewhat competitive, but I feel for the Saints. I really, really do, because as of now, like the rest of the season, they're just going to be everyone's punching bag.
Yeah, no, I sense a total fire sale coming. Cam Jordan, I feel his career is done after this year. Alvin Kamara, probably the same, but they're going to remain, like you said, in cap hell forever because they just keep making fucking bonehead decisions. They're going to keep Chris Olave, which they shouldn't. He shouldn't be playing football. They're going to probably run with Tyler Shue. They're going to see how far he goes. They're going to get a high draft pick. Really wouldn't be surprised if they fucked around and drafted another quarterback, did something stupid, because the dysfunction in the Saints is becoming more and more public. There's just outright dysfunction in that office. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. They don't know where to start. They don't know where to start. It starts with a fire sale.
And I'm
maybe
surprised
across
they
the board.
do anything.
They did nothing.
Before the trade deadline.
Nope. And again, I get it. You have your loyalists. You have your legacy players. You have Cam Jordan. You have Alvin Kamara. Those two players still go for draft capital in today's league. If the Saints were to call anybody and say, listen, what do you want? What can you give me for Cam Jordan? You think people wouldn't give you multiple picks regardless of the round? You may not get a first round.
I could see
I don't think you'll get a first round.
At least a fourth.
I could see a third and a fifth.
Yeah, he definitely has his place in the league, right? Because he's one of those guys.
He's a veteran.
You have to respect his game, and
you have to respect his game.
And again, for a team that struggles to say generate sacks, Jacksonville, maybe that would be worth to pursue. I don't know, or maybe a team that has their running backs injured and needs a running back. Chargers, maybe it's worth the call. Maybe
you should have picked up the phone.
It's worth the conversation.
But then you start again, but as a dysfunctional league, you start listening to the cries and demands of your team, of your players. Well, if you try to trade me, I'm going to retire, i.e. Alvin Kamara. Better not walk down that road. Don't want to lose him. But if you're going to walk down the road of trading him, you're going to lose him anyway. So what does it matter if he goes to the beach or if he goes to another team?
At least you'd get a pick out of him. At least you'd get some kind of draft capital out of that transaction.
And you no longer have to deal with the contract problem.
Mm-hmm.
If he chooses to retire, you have to pay him out, and that's that. If you trade him, the contract's no longer your problem. Either way, the cap is done. What's the fucking problem? Why are you letting an aged running back bully you into keeping him on the team as a chokehold? You're letting Alvin Kamara strangle you as a franchise right now. You're going to keep me here right now, and you're going to pay me to play. What? Get off my team. Don't think we need you that bad.
And again, we've talked about this before, and football is a team sport. But when a player starts to make it about them and it's about it's about me, not about we, not about us, then you get the product like the Saints do every Sunday, where it's hard to watch when players are just in it for themselves. And I get it, everyone in the league, this is their career, they're choosing it, and they're doing it for the benefit of their family, and I totally respect that. But it's a team sport. It's a team sport. You have to consider the needs of your fellow teammates. Otherwise, no one's going to want to play with you.
Correct.
Flat out.
If you become a cancer in the locker room, you're going to be left behind just as easy as if you can't play, if not easier.
Exactly. And that was very well said. But CP, any final thoughts on this game between the Saints and the Panthers?
Really taking the binoculars and looking deeper into Carolina, man. I'm excited for Carolina's future, and I really want to see Bryce Young to be a part of it. But if he struggles against the Saints in the same way he's struggled for 3 years as a quarterback growing in this league, I'm not talking about navigating two really good running backs. I'm talking about fundamentals as a quarterback. If he struggles against a team like the Saints, and it's there for people to see, there is no way the front office can't see it.
And we're just fans of the game, and we see it. And again, for professionals that do it for a living, well, they definitely see it. I want to see him step up, not just for this week, but again, when their schedule gets tougher, and they play the Niners, and they play the Rams, and they play the Bucks and the Seahawks, I want to see him step up. And if he doesn't, then that's a discussion to be had in the offseason. But we shall see. But with that being said, those are the two games that we wanted to talk about. AFC South rivalry, NFC South rivalry. Definitely wanted to talk about these teams at least once this year, and I'm glad we did. And this was the right time to do so. But with that being said, CP, are you ready to make some picks?
Yeah, man. We got some exciting games this week. That's for sure.
We got some really good games this week. So let's start Thursday night football. Let's go to Denver, where the Raiders come to play the Broncos. Who you got, CP?
You have to give me the Broncos at home. Vegas is another team that's in shambles and desperate, so don't really know where they're going either. Gonna have to dive into them at some point.
Yeah, we will definitely dive into them. I'll take Denver as well. Again, Denver's been playing very well. They're 7-2. Raiders are struggling. Before we continue, forgot to mention records for last week. CP, you won last week. You were 10-4 on your picks. John Conti was 9-5, and I went 8-6 last week. So
Ooh,
doing pretty
I'll
good.
take that.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
So yeah, absolutely. So teams on the bye this week. We have the Bengals, Cowboys, Chiefs, and Titans all on the bye this week. So we have 14 games to attend to. So let's move to Sunday's slate of games. Let's start in Berlin, where we have the Falcons and the Colts playing in Berlin. This should be a very interesting one overseas. But CP, who you got for this one?
This one's a lot harder than I think people realize because no one knows quite what to make of Atlanta. Give me the Colts, but I think it's going to be a lot closer of a game than I think people expect.
Okay, I'm gonna go with the Colts as well. I just think that they have a lot more fuel left in the tank. And Atlanta, it's
100.
like, yeah, and especially after a very, very tough game last week against the Steelers, that's what you kind of want to see out of the highest paid defense. However, Atlanta does not have a really good defense. So I'll take the Colts, and I think Jonathan Taylor is probably going to have a big game in Berlin. Let's move to the MetLife, where we have the Cleveland Browns coming to play the New York Jets after their fire sale on Tuesday. CP, who you got?
You have to give me Cleveland.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Cleveland as well. Again, getting rid of like your two best defensive players, that typically
And then
does.
benching your third best defensive player makes no sense.
Yeah, it's not a good sign, but I mean, at least for Dylan Gabriel, it makes his preparation a lot easier. But we shall see.
Yeah, he took a breath of fresh air yesterday during at the practice.
Yeah,
He
he
was like, I
did.
don't got to deal with who anymore.
You mean I could throw to the left side of the field? Bet. Done.
I'm not going to have Quinn Williams running at me 80% of my time. Bet.
Oh man, I love it. Okay, CP, let's move to Carolina. Game we just talked about between the Saints and the Panthers. Who you got for this one?
Give me the Panthers. I'm taking a close look at Bryce Young, and I want to see how he plays against a team like this.
Mm-hmm.
Can he get it together and be a field general, or is he still going to be a navigator?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Carolina as well. I kind of expect them to win this game. Whether it's close or a blowout doesn't matter. Again, the Saints are
In
again
shambles?
they are in shambles, so they should win this game. If not, this is a very very telling game if the Saints were to upset the Panthers. We may have to go back to talk about them next week, but we shall see. We shall see. But
Yeah.
let's move to Tampa Bay, where we have the New England Patriots and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know you wanted to talk this game, and this
I
game was
did want to
very.
talk this game.
This one was very interesting. It popped out to me when I was looking at it on the schedule, but this should be a really good game. But CP, who you got?
This is potential game of the week. Give me New England with the upset. I guess that could be considered an upset.
Is
Them
it?
going into Tampa is.
I
I
think
don't know at this point
I
for
think
either
New
of these
England's
teams.
favored, if I'm not mistaken.
I think this is an even split at this
Yeah.
point. So it's like you can't really tell what I think. But I'm saying on the premise of Tampa being home, if
Mhm.
New England were to win, that would be more of an upset because it would be on the road. But give me New England on the road.
This one is tough, and I kind of did want to go into this one a little bit more. Tampa's coming off
This
their
could be
bye
possible
week.
game of the week.
Tampa's coming off their bye week. They're a little bit more fresh. I'm gonna take Tampa on this one. I don't know. I think again Baker Mayfield's been playing phenomenal football, MVP
But
caliber
so is Drake
football.
May.
But like you say, exactly. Just so is Drake May. Drake May's been playing unbelievable as well. I don't know, man. This one's tough. It's very, very even. It's kind of a coin flip game, but I'll take Tampa on this one. Let's move to Minnesota, where we have the purple against the purple, Ravens versus the Vikings. You know me, man. I'm sticking with Lamar going on this heater, and the Ravens gonna keep winning. I'm taking the Ravens for this one. But CP, who you got for this one?
Mm.
But this should be a good one.
This should be a great game.
Mm-hmm.
Give me Minnesota at home.
Okay.
I think you guys are going to go on a run, but I think you guys are going to burn your last loss right here.
Last loss. So you're telling me that we sweep you guys this season?
Well, that's all. If you lose against Minnesota, you cannot lose another game.
I
That's
know.
what I mean.
I know.
That's what I mean by you burn your last loss allotted.
Okay. Oh, I got you. Okay.
Like you burn your last allotted loss for the rest of the year. You have to win out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I
But
think.
I think that's where your last allotted loss comes.
Okay. I respect it. I respect it. That should be a really good game. I'm excited for that one. Let's move to Miami, where we have AFC East division rivals Buffalo Bills against the Miami Dolphins. Now, again, Josh Allen historically is great against Miami, but the Bills kind of underperform a little bit when they travel to down south. But CP, who you got for this one?
I'm really not going to think too much on this one. It's going to be Buffalo. This is another team that's heading into a fire sale. Miami, they're selling the house. The coach will not be there next year. The GM probably is already not there.
Yeah.
Getting a new GM, they will probably have a new coach. They will probably have a new quarterback by next year too. I'm not going to think too much. Bills are going to win this one pretty promisingly too.
Yeah, I'll take the Bills in this one. I'm not going to overthink it. Again, Bills don't necessarily play their best in Miami, but I don't think they need to play their best in order to beat this Miami Dolphins team. So I'll take I'll take the Bills to beat the Fins. Let's move to Chicago, where we have the New York Giants coming to play the Chicago Bears. Very interesting matchup in the NFC. CP, who you got?
Listen, Chicago's pulling together a nice little stretch of wins. You're going to have to give me Chicago at home.
I like it. I don't know, man. Despite putting 47 last week, I don't think that we're going to see an offensive output like that again. Maybe, but that's the Bengals defense. The
I
Giants
don't know about 47 again.
I don't think so. The
But
Giants
maybe in the
defense
30s.
It could be in the 30s. It's possible. I'm going to take Chicago as well. But I don't know, man. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little upset by the G-Men here. But we shall see.
I would like to see it.
I'd like to see it. But again, Jackson Dart's been playing very, very well. And I got to give him his credit. But Caleb is really he's starting to understand that Ben Johnson offense. And I think that's really coming into his own, and he's showing it. So big shout out to Caleb, to Roma Odunze, and DeAndre Swift, all really contributing big for this Bears offense. Let's move to Houston. First game we talked about, the Jags versus the Texans. CP, who you got?
Give me Jacksonville because Houston is totally deflated at this point. Trevor Lawrence, man, you need to show out. You need to start showing out. You need to start showing more.
I do agree with you. They do need to show more. I'm going to take the Jags, but I'm not confident taking the Jags because I think Trevor Lawrence is going to struggle mightily against that Houston defense. They are really, really good. But again, Houston just has trouble moving the ball down the field, even with CJ Stroud. Again, I'm not confident in this pick, but I'll take the Jags. Let's move to Seattle, where we have the Cardinals led by Jacoby Brissett coming to play the Seahawks. We have a lot of divisional games this week. I like it. But CP, who you got for this one?
Give me Seattle at home. But I do think it's going to be another scrappy, tough fuck game by Arizona.
Yeah, this one, I think Arizona can kind of hang with Seattle a little bit. Despite Seattle,
they can hang.
You could put up a exorbitant amount of numbers on Washington. I think Arizona can hang, but I'm going to take the Seahawks. Sam Darnold's been balling. I got to give him his flowers on that. Again, anything can happen during a divisional game. But let's move to Washington, where we have the NFC divisional round rematch between the Lions and the Commanders. I'm taking the Lions on this one. That big injury to Jaden Daniels, that's really deflating. Now, granted, Marcus Mariota has had his good reps this year, and he has had a lot of game experience, but it's against that Lions team, man. That is tough. That's a tough ask for any quarterback. But who you got for this one?
Yeah, you have to give me the Lions. I think with that decision of Jaden Daniels to stay in on a 31-point deficit, lost Dan Quinn the locker room. We've been talking a lot this year about cultures and locker rooms and this and that. That is a decision that loses you the locker room.
Yeah.
And this team will no longer play for Dan Quinn. I know I wouldn't.
It's tough, too, because it's like you want to play your players, but at the same time, it's like when the game is lost in the fourth quarter, why risk it, right?
Just why?
So it's a very, very interesting decision that he made, but I'm curious to see what the offseason looks like for Washington next year. Let's move to San Francisco. Division rivalry in the NFC West between the Rams and the 49ers. CP, who you got? This is always a good matchup between these two.
Give me the Rams. Give me the Rams on the road. I think they're the healthier team right now. So, and I like Stafford more. Especially if Brock Purdy's coming back, I don't think they should do that. I think they should keep the hot hand in with Mac Jones. I think that's going to mess up the whole shit in San Francisco.
Yeah, again, it's funny too because 49ers beat the Rams earlier this year in LA. And I think that was without Purdy as well. That was with Mac Jones. I think that was a Thursday
So
night
with
game,
Mac Jones.
if I'm not mistaken. Kyle Shanahan knows how to scheme and play against Sean McVay very well. That's why these two coaches are very, very good at what they do. But I'm going to take the Rams. I'm with you on this one. You and I were picking a lot of the same ones, and I don't blame you because it's like I'm for the same reason. Healthy and Stafford's on a heater. It's hard to go against that.
Right.
But I think these next two may be where we split a little bit. We got the Sunday night primetime between the Steelers and the Chargers. This should be a really, really good game Sunday night. I'm curious to see who you're picking for this one. I know you haven't always been on your Steelers, but who you got for this one?
I'm going to go with Pittsburgh to win on this one. Am I expecting the showing of last week? No. I don't expect to see that the rest of the year. But if we can get a fraction of that and just break a piece off and just get in Justin Herbert's face, just for majority of the night, then we will win this game. No Joe Alt, no right tackle.
I know.
We should be able to have a fucking field day.
Man, this one I'm torn on because I could see it go either way. Tomlin is good at preparation, but it's always tough to go all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast in a primetime game. That's always tough. Chargers are banged up, not really. Their running backs are beat up, and that injury to Joe Alt is huge. That dude is a mountain.
Gutting.
I'm still going to take the Chargers. I just think, I don't know, something in my gut is telling me to go with the Chargers. I have a little bit more faith in Justin Herbert to kind of read it. At this point, as a veteran quarterback, he should understand how to navigate defenses in these defensive schemes, especially these Mike Tomlin defensive schemes that...
Because there's no hiding a Mike Tomlin defense.
Exactly.
It's what you see is what you get, and you got to stop it.
You're going to get a 3-4 coverage.
Or you're going to get nickel.
Yeah.
And that's it.
So I'm going to go with the Chargers in this one. But we got a great Monday night game, too. Battle of the Greens. We got the Eagles and the Packers. This is a really, really good game. And this can determine a lot of seeding come January in the NFC playoff picture. CP, who you got?
No Tucker Kraft in Green Bay.
But they still got all their weapons other than him. Josh Jacobs, still got Micah, that defense.
I think you're going to have to give me Green Bay at home. Philly is probably the healthiest team in the league at the moment, but they are still a flawed team. Mm-hmm. They are still very flawed. They are still not totally on the same page when it comes to offense. Their offensive line isn't great either. They're in the bottom 20s. And that defense on Green Bay is stout. So, going to have to give me Green Bay.
This one's tough. This one's really, really tough. Because I like both of these teams. I like their running backs, their quarterbacks. I'm going to take Philly, though. I just think Philly just has, coming off a bye, well rested. They had enough time to prepare for this. And to me, it's the question of which Jordan Love comes out to play. Is it the Aaron Rodgers Jordan Love?
Or the drunk Brett Favre.
Or the drunk Brett Favre. But I'll take Philly on this one. But this one should be a really, really good Monday night game.
There you have it, guys. There's our picks for the week. There's the two games that we wanted to talk. We unpacked the Panthers, unpacked the Saints, we unpacked the Jags, and we unpacked the Texans. This week should be a lot of fun, and it's really, playoffs are right around the corner, man. I hope you can feel it because I can feel it.
I feel it.
Everything is getting more and more crazy. But until then, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you are trying to come on for an interview, we have some openings left for the rest of the year. Please contact either John or myself. But until then, we will catch you guys next week. Thank you.